My good friend Avia, she's a chef up there. She handed this out to me this morning, and I just thought it was the sweetest thing. I'm like, this is what everybody needs right now. So, kind of fun. Keep it there as a reminder now. So, all right. So we have our ahi tuna, and I'm just going to go ahead and start plating this one up, and we're going to do a tostada with that. Okay. We have a avocado mash. We have these tostadas here. We're going to start with this avo mash. We're going to put a little bit on the base, and that's just going to kind of hold our tostada. Let me do this one, actually. Let me take those. Thank you. Thank you, chef. You know, I've been to the CIA so many times throughout the years, and I've done so many really fantastic events here, and I've gotten to know some people here very closely and see them at other events, too. So it's such a pleasure and honor to be here cooking today, and especially with this one right here. And she is absolutely incredible, Rebecca, so thank you so much for everything. So we'll do a little bit of our avo mash. That's just a basic avo mash, lime juice, poblano peppers, cilantro, some jalapenos. Then we're gonna take that ahi tuna, we'll put that on top of that tostada. And this is a really, really simple dish. And then we're going to garnish that. We have a couple things here for garnishing. We have some Thai basil. I'm just going to take some of those, put those leaves on here. How are those looking, chef? Yeah, they're looking pretty good, huh? Let me get a nicer looking knife than that.
I think it's really great, Chef, how you're integrating the different flavor profiles kind of subtly, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it, you think, oh, Mexican.
Right.
And then you taste it, and you can't necessarily put your finger on the difference, but you know it's delicious.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that is the whole key here, too, right? Making it familiar. And you know, and that was the thing too when we were talking about this, where it's like, I feel like Asian flavors and South American flavors melt so nicely together. You know, you got the different peppers and chilies and stuff like that too. So they just work so well together. And even with marination of meats and stuff, if you just took some soy sauce, you know, add that to it, even the Thai chili to that, it really dramatically, you know, improves the taste, and you can do some really fun things with that. So we have some Fresno chilies here. We have just some radishes. We have the Thai basil, like I said, some squash blossoms. And these are my personal favorite because this is one of these products that we import, actually. These are finger limes. Who here is familiar with finger limes? Everybody, almost. So it's a fruit that's native to Australia. And this is a product that we bring in. We can get it through .foods and all that stuff. But if you're interested, talk to me later about it. Amazing citrus pop on here. Pairs really well with soy sauce. It pairs really well with, you know, almost anything. We say you can use it from the top to the bottom of a menu. Seafood is incredible. You can do like, you know, make mignonettes for oysters. We have 4 different colors and flavor profiles. And there's actually 86 different varieties of finger limes. In the US, you generally just get the green ones, but we have a red one, a chartreuse, a pink pearl, and the emerald as well. So we're gonna put that on there as well. Then we have a little bit of the Kikkoman sriracha aioli. And we're just gonna kind of dot that a little bit. And then a couple little cilantro microgreens to finish. There we go, and that is tostada with the ahi tuna. Thank you. Fantastic. And we will jump right into the next one here. The taco yaki. This is a really fun one, and to be honest with you, when we first developed it, I didn't know how it was going to work out, but it is absolutely delicious, so I can't wait to hear what you all think about it this afternoon. Okay, so we're going to use that the Kikkoman sriracha aioli again. Put a little bit of that down. That's going to hold these guys. Thank you. I'm just going to use my fingers. You know, when you're a chef, you can't feel anything, right? So. Slippery little guys, though. There we go. Okay. So we have our takoyaki. Finish it with a little bit of that. And right here we did this is a brunoise of pineapple that we actually compressed with the teriyaki glaze. And it just turned out so delicious. After that, we took it out and we grilled it, gave it a nice little char. So, you know, pastor has to have the pineapple with that. So this is a really, really fun little bite. I'm ahead of time, aren't I? This is great. All right, we're going to give you extra time here, Pierre. All right. I'm going to clean that up. We have some nice little cilantro leaves here. We'll stick one of those in there. And of course, a little bit of bonito flakes on there. Finish with a little bit of green onions too. And there you have it. There's the El Pastor Takoyaki.
So we have a few minutes before we, thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
We have a few minutes before we feature Chef Pierre. So I'm going to start with a question about how Chef thinks about sauces and different kinds of sauces, viscosities, acidities, and so forth. If you can talk a little bit about that. And we have about 5 minutes, so think about your questions that you want to ask Chef as well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys a little bit on that too. You know, that's one of the really most interesting things to me as I started working with Kikkoman products. I didn't realize how many they made. I've always looked at them as just soy sauce, right? And there was maybe a couple other random products in there. But as we started looking through their portfolio, I was absolutely blown away with all the different things, and they're different, you know? I mean, I feel like even the Thai chili, we're used to that sweet chili, you know, that mai ploy, that's just, you know, totally different flavor profile, but you can still use them in the same application. When I first time I went to Japan and, you know, started touring the Kikkoman factory and looking at everything, these guys do everything. They are the kings of fermentation. Kikkoman makes wine, and they make incredible wine, and it's made from koshu grapes, which is a pink grape. And I know we're in wine country here, so that's a bold statement, but I mean, I encourage you guys to try the Japanese wine if you get there. But yeah, the kings of fermentation. Everywhere I went in Japan, I have a lot of friends that are chefs there and stuff, and I tell them, oh yeah, I'm, you know, checking out the Kikkoman factory and stuff. They go, oh, Kikkoman, it's the #1 soy sauce in Japan. Like, it's the best. So I think it's fun realizing all the different products that they make. So,
excellent, excellent. Any questions from the audience? Any thoughts? Yes, sir.
Do you temper, like, do you bring those sauces up to room temp? Do you keep them cold?
I'm sorry, real quick. Did everybody hear the question? He's talking about the temperature of the sauces, room temp. Is Ian tempering them? Is he heating them? Your thoughts?
yeah, no, I don't think you have to. You know, I think you could do it cold. I do these room temp like this, so for service, I would just take it out and use it at service like that, but obviously, you know, there might be health department codes depending on what the sauce is and what's contained in it. But yeah, no, I like to just have it room temp with this because you don't want to have that ice cold sauce on something hot. So it's a great question though. What do you do, Andrew?
What's that?
What do you do?
I almost always use Kikkoman sauces room temperature and or hot, but I'm heating sauces like teriyaki and stuff because that's the expectation. Maybe we're glazing chicken on a grilled I'm sorry, glazing chicken with teriyaki on the grill and so forth. But the sauces are fully cooked, so you don't have to cook them to, for safety's sake, et cetera. But I believe that room temperature and above is almost always almost the case, unless you're making a salad dressing or something and you want it really cool and crisp.
Yeah.
That was a great question. Any others?
Curious about your background with, you said your roots are in Latin American food, and where the crossroads between these Asian flavors and what's going to be the Japanese cooking, what the pathway to crossing that, but a little bit about your roots in Latin America and how that
Wonderful.
happened or when or what inspired you.
Yeah. Thank you. No, you want to repeat
Yeah,
that?
just so quickly, the question was about Ian's roots and the crossroads between Latin American flavors and Asian, specifically Japanese flavors.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a great question. So my father is actually from Veracruz, Mexico. And I have a lot of family down there, and I actually have my dual citizenship for Mexico as well, because we have property and stuff down there. So yeah, it's always been really close to my heart, and when I go down there and, spend time with family, we get to, cook a lot of really fun things, and I get to, explore some really interesting ingredients, and Veracruz is more of a tropical area too, so even the fruits and things like that are just abundant, and the seafood is abundant there. And funny, my good friend Patty Ginich, actually, she has not done anything in Veracruz, and she's like, okay, when we do, you're coming with me, and we're gonna go explore. I'm like, yes, I would absolutely love that. So yeah, I grew up on those flavors. My mom's side of the family is Dutch and German, so that's a totally different thing, My parents met in the Peace Corps, in like the 70s. So yeah, it's always been a love of mine, Mexican food, Mexican cuisine, and everything like that. But then as a chef, kind of cutting my teeth and figuring out new flavors, I loved going to Asian markets. And I would go in all different cities, anywhere I went to, and I would just walk up and down the rows, and I would just buy random stuff. Like, I don't even know what this is, And that was like one of the funnest experiences for me, is to find those products, taste them, and figure out how to use them. And it's funny, because then I would meet somebody maybe who's Filipino or something like that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know that product, I use it like this, and they're like, you're not supposed to use it that way. I'm like, but I do, It's really fun to explore different flavors in that way. So, sometimes when people ask, what's your specialty with food, I really don't know, every chef gets asked that. What's your favorite dish? What's your signature dish? It's like, we don't really have that, typically. You're like, no, I can kind of do a lot of different things. But that was one of those things where I never really knew how to answer that question. And my wife, she would always tell people, she would kind of interject, and she goes, Asian food, it is. Because it's like, that's how I learned, how to use all these different flavors. And I took those with what I did know and just mixed those together. Good, bad, or indifferent. So, yeah, thank you.
So we have about a minute. So any one last quick question for Chef? Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
How do you balance that line between innovation and blasphemy when it comes to using two different cuisines?
Very good question. Very good question. And you start thinking about where we were to where we are now, and the line of blasphemy, what was it? At first it was fusion, right? And you had all these fusion dishes, and then it turned into cultural appropriation, because you might not be using them correctly, and you would get that blasphemy and people using backlash, and then it turned into authenticity, right? And authentic dishes, and everything had to be authentic. Well, then what defines authentic, right? Because when you go to the region, it depends on how somebody makes it here versus somebody makes it there within that same region. So what is authentic, And now we've kind of come full circle again where, well, let me hold on though. So then we had the pandemic, right? And during the pandemic, everything went to comfort food and stews and kind of traditional dishes, and people would kind of get back into baking and all this kind of stuff. And then we come out of the pandemic and innovation starts taking over again, right? And people are like, no, we need innovation, and we need to be creative, and we need to find new flavors and do that and really express your creativity. So yeah, there is a fine line there, but I just feel like we're at that point now where we want to see new stuff, we want to see new flavors, we want to see crossovers with things. So, I don't know, does that answer your question? Kind of? Okay, all right.
Excellent. A round of applause, please, for Chef Ian.
Thank you.
And now, Chef Pierre, welcome to the stage.
Great presentation. Thank you. I love it. I love everything you said. And yes, it's just amazing to see how food transcends borders. And you have Latin America, Asian. For me, that was also somewhat of a similar story in an organic way. When I was a young cook early in the 90s in New York City, about 3 decades ago, the only food that really was around was French, Italian, for the most part, some Chinese. And New York was being called the food capital of the world. And for me, there was a problem with that word. Technical issues too here. It's okay? Thanks. There was a problem because, I came from Senegal, West Africa. It's vibrant food culture. I mean, we have especially Dakar, the city where I grew up, which is a coastal area, south of the Sahara Desert, so dry and arid. We have very interesting ingredients. But in addition to that, Dakar is a melting pot. We have had different influences from so many, first the French colonizers, of course, but the neighboring countries. And each of them have brought their cuisines. And street food of Dakar is like all those mixing very bold flavors, similar to Asian cuisine, bold flavors. We love it bold. But here, I am now young cook, and I'm just exposed to French and Italian. And gradually, those of you who are old enough remember how gradually Thai, Japanese started to come into the New York scene. And to me, it was a revelation. That's when I started to see those flavors, the acidity, the fermentation. That's what our cuisine is about. Senegalese cuisine, we have that too. We ferment our conch, we ferment our beans, you ferment things to bring that umami flavor. So it's something that was very familiar. We also have the freshness of the ingredients. So this is really what pushed me into, I'm going to look into my cuisine and bring it to, this is going to be, as I grow as a chef, I'm going to bring this food into really my source of inspiration, the source of my origins. And looking for ingredients, some of the ingredients were not there. I had to go to Chinatown and look for those fermented ingredients to bring that flavor. And that really was the case for a lot of the dishes. I'm going to present 2 dishes today. This one is an oxtail. It used to be a very humble ingredient, not anymore. So this oxtail is a stew that we do in Senegal. And I just, first of all, I browned the oxtails, right? I brown it. I don't know if you can see on the camera. It's brown here. And then I remove it from the pan. I saute some onions. And as I saute the onions, I'm going to add those flavors. See, ginger, familiar, right? This is something that you also see in Asian cuisine. Some garlic, a little bit of that flavor, tomato paste. Let it scorch a little bit without burning because you want to make sure the sugar that's in the tomato doesn't really burn and it's going to have an off-putting taste. And then some soy sauce. She's not really what my mom would use in Senegal, but that's the best way for me to bring that flavor. And since those ingredients are not available in the US, especially in New York at the time, I went to Chinatown and I find Kikkoman soy sauce, and that worked. And that brings that flavor. I'm also going to add a little bit of freshness with bay leaves and fresh thyme. And then, after I stir it well, I'm going to return my meat into, thank you. Yeah. My hands are clean, huh? So return the meat inside the pot.
Smells amazing.
It does.
Great flavors going on.
It does. You have to be really present in the kitchen and have all your senses awakened, smelling, touching, feeling, tasting. This is just a thing, an opportunity to really, it can even be a spiritual experience if you allow yourself to do it. So being present is really an opportunity when you're in the kitchen to do it. This whole pepper, this is Scotch bonnet pepper, I'm going to throw it all inside, And when you throw it inside, that's a technique to get the essence without burning it. But make sure you don't break it inside. If you break it, it's going to be very spicy. But you want that flavor to come out. And I'm going to add my stock inside here. Beef stock, yes. Oopsie. Okay, I got it. Some pepper, some salt, cayenne is optional. You can put cayenne if you want it to be spicier, but I believe the Scotch bonnet will do it. And just bring it to a boil. And separately, I have red beans that I've been soaking last night and then cooked slowly, and by miracle, it's already cooked now, and just like on TV. And you let this simmer slowly, 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 until ta-da!
Oh my gosh. Wow.
There it is. And I just fold my beans slowly inside. And here we have a lovely oxtail stew, very comforting dish.
So is it good luck to get the Scotch bonnet with your portion, or is that bad luck?
Come again?
Is it good luck to get the Scotch bonnet in your portion?
Well, it depends. If you like it spicy,
Yeah.
and if you break it,
Yeah.
well, it's good luck.
Yeah,
But
okay.
For most people, it wouldn't be called good luck, and you'll be screaming.
It wouldn't be for me.
But that little bit of heat is really also part of really having the tasting experience, because the heat opens up the pores. When it hits your tongue, it opens the pores, and it really allows you to really taste everything, all the flavors. So allow yourself to really taste the flavors. When you having a meal, especially a meal from a tradition like West Africa, or any tradition really, it's more than just putting food in your mouth. There's a story here. It's telling you a story, a quite interesting story, especially here, the oxtail. The oxtail, remember I told you it used to be like this humble ingredient. And back in the days, in the plantations, a sad story, but the oxtail was the leftover, the meat that the captive African were allowed to have. All the other choice meats were for the so-called masters. And they had such an amazing way of cooking food they have, because we come from a tradition where food and recipes are transmitted from generation after generation after generation. And that resiliency of the food has transcended even the Middle Passage. And this oxtail dish, and the other dishes, many of the other dishes that you see in Southern cuisine, in the whole across Latin America, Veracruz, which is the Afro-Mexican part of Mexico,
absolutely.
right? You see that influence, and that's really the beauty of that cuisine, right? So oxtail, our ancestors were doing it in such an amazing way. It became not a humble dish ingredient anymore. Today, oxtail, unfortunately, is out of price, and that's quite unfortunate. But it's a dish that is really an ingredient that's used by our tradition in an amazing way. That said, nothing is wasted in our cuisine, and we're gonna do this sauce now, right? Yeah. Thank you for reminding what we're doing here. And now, the second dish I'm about to present is called caldo. Caldo, the name sounds almost Portuguese because it's from the south of Senegal, which is has a Portuguese influence. Africa has an interesting story. Again, I was telling you about each dish tells you a story. Yeah, there's a story being told by each dish, and even in the name, caldo, you have that Portuguese influence. This is a dish that's very healthy. Traditional West African cuisine is a very balanced diet. When you look at the pyramid of our food, it's quite balanced. This one has no oil. This is really just water is going to be used, and onions, and I let it come to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, I'm going to add some okra and I use spinach today, baby spinach. Traditionally, we use sorrel leaves, but because I couldn't have it here, I'm going to use spinach and add a touch of lime juice, and I'll make it. I'll bring the acidity of the sorrel. I bring this to a boil. I add my okra. And my spinach. And I'm going to add a little bit of fish sauce. Back home, we would use this dried fish, dried salted fish that has that fermented flavor. Mm-hmm. Again, it's not available here in the US market, so I use fish sauce here. And with the fish sauce, with the fish sauce, I'm going to now add some lemon juice and allow this to wilt a little bit. And this is really interesting. I like you to take a look at this simple technique of like okra, lemon juice, spinach, water, and onion. And while this is wilting, I'm going to start making my caldo. This is just one part of this one dish. I'm going to move this here while it's wilting. And caldo, same. You have a base with water, onions, tomato, and more fish sauce. Told you, fermentation is a big part of our cuisine. Those fermented flavors are just so important. Here, the Scotch bonnet, I chop it up. Take the seeds out, chop it up, put a little bit inside, not too much, and allow it to simmer, even come to a boil. Taste it. More lemon juice. More. So here's the thing. I do the bowl. And while this is coming to a boil here, as soon as it comes to a boil, it starts simmering. You see the onions are melting. You'll add some calamari. Traditionally, you do calamari, or you can do a fish. The whole thing is, it goes inside and you let it simmer slowly. But while that's happening, let's continue with our sauce da here. So you scoop out the juice that is cooked in. And just start whisking it. You want to break the okra, and gradually you're going to create some kind of an immersion between the okra and the little bit of broth, the onions, and again, the spinach here, spinach and lemon juice. And you have this really interesting, almost molecular looking foamy.
Natural thickening agent in there, right?
Indeed, natural thickening agent. So that's really about now whisking. Allow yourself to whisk.
Hey, Chef, I noticed that, like in both of these dishes, you didn't saute the onions first or anything. Is that kind of typical?
Actually, I sauteed the onions after searing the oxtail. But
okay, gotcha.
after searing the oxtail. But it is typical, yes. Very good question, because this one in this one dish, and even in our gumbo, gumbo, if you guys don't know, is traditionally also from West Africa. It's not from New Orleans. So our gumbo, we don't saute the onions. We have the broth ready, and then we put the onions in. So there's a method to that. There's it's a different flavor that you get when you do that. You get
Totally.
the onions have it's milder. It doesn't have that caramelized flavor, but if you want to have that caramelized flavor, yes, you do saute the onions. So I'm going to have you work a little bit here. You
Sure,
with this?
yeah, I got that.
And
Put me to work.
hey, I have a sous chef here.
Yeah,
And
happy
so,
to be.
So here, I'm going to taste it. You have to taste at every single moment in the cooking process, every single moment. This is for me. Remember, I was telling you how I really wanted the food of my tradition to inspire me. And in New York, I was exposed to what we call classical cuisine. So I would call my mom and say, hey, how do you make this? And then she started giving me these recipes. And I ask questions like, how many teaspoons? And then she starts looking at me like, I'm coming from Mars. Like that. We don't cook like this, You have to taste, you have to be present, you have to smell, you have to eat. And that's how she knows. It's like every recipe is just guidelines, really. But in reality, each time you prepare a dish, there's something that's happening between you and the ingredients. The ingredients are not the exact same as the one your mom used back a few miles away or like thousands of miles away. They have different reaction. They have slightly different. The onions maybe had more water where it grew or less. So it played a role. So if you don't taste and you just follow the recipe, you'll have a decent dish. But if you taste and you allow yourself to connect and to converse with the ingredients, then you really, truly have like the full experience. And that's what I was coming to say. My mom would laugh and say, taste. And that's how she tastes.
Yeah.
She goes like this. I learned that technique from her. Ooh, it's spicy.
Your mama taught you good, though.
Yes.
Yep.
It is spicy. Oishi.
Oishi, yes. Yeah, there we go.
I'm cheating, really. My wife is from Tokyo. And yeah, I was reading, I was like, katakana, I'm learning katakana and hiragana, so I'm learning my Japanese.
I love it.
This past summer, I spent 6 weeks in Japan, actually, in Tokyo, in Nasu, and we went all the way. I spent some time with farmers near Osaka. Someone is in Osaka, but past Osaka, in Sakai, like where there was a rice growing farmer. Amazing guy. He grows rice, and not only just he does it in a regenerative way, but he also does the multi-cropping. So it reminds me of the farmers in West Africa as well, the traditional farmers. He does his rice, but he has also beans. He does so many different things. He makes his own sake after his rice is grown. And I love this farmer. This is beautiful.
Good?
Yeah, it's getting there. So you
Good.
see, chef, from Mexico to
You want,
Senegal.
I can keep going. I didn't know.
No, it's there. It's there. Just keep
You just want
going
air in it.
until
Yeah, okay,
until
gotcha,
it's
gotcha.
ready. Yeah.
Okay, it didn't do so good.
Just want to get
apparently.
into work. Now it's a great workout too. So you use your hand, but if you don't want to do that, you can use a blender too.
Yeah.
But the purist will tell you, don't do this. And then after, you see, this is getting there now. After this, you have options. You can blend this to have like a very homogeneous looking bright orange sauce. And then this calamari can go in here and start cooking. I've cooked it ahead of time, so we won't have to wait like 15 minutes to wait for the calamari to cook. But there it is. At the end, just like in TV, we have our finished, the calamari is here. And this is how it's going to look like at the end. And Chef Andrew mentioned grain that I've been championing, fonio. This is our brand, fonio, that you can find now across the U.S. supermarket, Whole Foods, Target. It's an ancient grain. It's been around 5,000 years. It's gluten-free. It cooks in 5 minutes. It's very versatile. So you can use fonio in so many different types of cuisine. And you can make, it looks like couscous when it's ready. Again, 2 cups of water, 1 cup of fonio, bring it to a boil. As soon as you put the fonio in, reduce it, keep it covered. In 3 minutes, the water is absorbed, turn it off, fluff it up, it's ready. If you want to make it like a porridge, add more water or more stock or whatever you want to use for that. So today I'm using fonio for this caldo, and also had poached some okra to also garnish the caldo with. So the fonio Why am I championing it? Because again, like I said earlier in my career, many ingredients were not available in the US market of the wonderful ingredients that make our cuisine. And I was wondering, as I'm writing cookbooks, why am I always thinking of substitutions? Instead of thinking of substitutions, shouldn't I just figure out a way to create a value chain to bring these ingredients to the market? That would be a way also to have an impact. It's particularly the small farmers community that's been growing these ingredients for thousands of years, but don't have access to market. And another impact on the planet, because our food system needs to be diversified. And we are limited. The grains that we have access to is very limited. So this grain in particular is a grain that grows in poor soil. You know, Senegal is south of the Sahara. It's a dry and arid area. And grains like fonio just thrive there. And in addition to being great for the environment, it's a nutrition powerhouse. I said it's gluten-free, it's rich in fiber. And it cooks in 5 minutes and it's versatile, so it checks all the boxes. And so we started to bring it in the US market, and luckily Whole Foods caught on, and today we have fonio in the market, we have fonio flour, we have fonio chips. We even have fonio beer, because we did collaborations with Brooklyn Brewery and Carlsberg, and Guinness is launching a fonio beer this coming week on the 13th of November. Watch out for the launch of the Guinness fonio beer. Nice. So again, you know, this is really something that I'm very passionate about. But first, it starts with the fact that it's a very flavorful ingredient. And we should integrate it into our food system, or else we risk losing these ingredients. There are 90% of our biodiversity that has already disappeared in the past hundreds of years because our food system hasn't integrated them into the market. So this is up to us now. We know that a lot of the challenges that we are facing, a lot of it are related to an inefficient food system, and we are going to be at a place where we have to figure out how to feed the 10 billion people that are about to come in our planet. And how do we do that? How do we do that? We haven't figured it out yet. So the solution is in diversity and saving these underutilized ingredients like fonio and many others. There's plenty in Asia. There's hundreds still that exist in Africa. Those ones really need to be coming into our food system, but the way to do it is by supporting the smallholder farmers that have been growing them. Because if we cut them and we take it away from them and we do what we've been doing for the past 100 or so years and allow big farmers, big farm, big food to take away these ingredients, they will grow it in an intensive way. They will grow it in a way that's not sustainable. They will do it with like mass irrigation and chemicals and all of that. And we're back to the same problem. So by supporting the small farmers and allowing them to grow this the way they've been growing it traditionally, multi-cropping, like that farmer in Sakai in Japan, the multi-cropping, the rotational agriculture, then we have a chance to really bring serious solutions to this food system. This ingredient that I'm going to add as a last touch is called netetu. It's a fermented locust bean that I was able to bring. And this ingredient is really fantastic. It's also vegan, and it's from the seed of a fruit that's fermented in traditional West Africa. We ferment the fruit, the seed, and see, you can smell it. It has a very pungent flavor. Yeah, try some. It's very pungent.
Gotta taste it like that, like his mama taught him, right?
Exactly, that's mama's, right? And the last touch.
Ooh, that's really good.
It's really good. It's intense flavor, but if you're used to...
Almost chocolatey.
That's true,
Yeah.
exactly. It has like a chocolate touch to it.
Who here has tried fonio? Have you guys cooked with fonio? Quite a few. It's a pretty amazing product, isn't it?
Oh, some people tried fonio here, okay. Can you raise your hands again? I was like...
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Good amount. You're doing your job, man.
I'm doing my
That's
job.
I've
Thank
known
you.
Pierre for years, and that's
Thank
the
you.
first time I found
Thank
fonio
you.
too is from you.
Thank
It's a really, you can use it in so many different ways.
Indeed, indeed. And I so appreciate, see, this is the way fonio and other foods are going through chefs like Ian who really take it and introduce it to their audience. And then the audience realize that, hey, we need to look for this in our supermarkets. And then Whole Foods is like, okay, we can bring it. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it cooks
thank
so
you.
quickly too.
It cooks quickly.
Full of
It really-
nutrition.
it cooks quickly. It's, again, this cuisine is West African, but I wouldn't even find this way of cooking if I hadn't been inspired by this wave of Asian flavors that were coming in New York City, and that really took me to like, hey, if this is happening, this could happen. And this was the way, you know, I got today here. Thank you for your patience, and I hope you get to cook this.
Good job, man.
So on behalf of Kikkoman, we hope you've enjoyed watching these two great chefs really transcend borders and cultures and communities. So a big round of applause, please, for Chef Ian and Pierre.
I'm going to show you how to make an elevated version of loaded smashed potatoes. While usually loaded potatoes means sour cream, bacon, and cheddar cheese, this produce-packed dish is much healthier and just as delicious. The smashed potatoes are topped with quick-pickled cherry tomatoes, which will bring a pop of brightness and acidity. In a medium bowl, combine the sugar and vinegar and mix until the sugar is dissolved. Add halved cherry tomatoes to the vinegar mixture and toss to combine. Allow the tomatoes to marinate for about 1 hour. Then drain and reserve these. Next, I'll show you some techniques to make our potatoes extra creamy on the inside and crispy on the outside. Here, I have baby gold potatoes that I've gently boiled in well-salted water until tender and then drained. While they're still hot, slightly crush the potatoes with a fork. Allow them to cool. At service, deep fry the crushed potatoes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit until they're deep golden brown. As you can see, smashing the potatoes makes them perfectly crispy and craggy. Here I have broccoli florets, cauliflower florets, and cremini mushrooms that I've roasted separately until golden brown. We're going to layer these together with our potatoes. Let's put our dish together. Layer the fried smashed potatoes, roasted mushrooms, cauliflower, broccoli, and the pickled tomatoes on a serving plate. Give everything a generous drizzle of Hellmann's spicy mayonnaise for a nice creamy finish. There you have it, a healthier take on loaded potatoes, topped with roasted vegetables, pickled tomatoes, and some spicy mayo. This is a fun entree or shared appetizer.
Like 2 nights errant, and with great enthusiasm to continue our cheese route, we left La Mancha behind and headed towards our new destination, the unique cheeses. Is that in Europe? Many cheeses are produced that receive that name. Cheeses such as Tatilla cheese, Torta del Casar of Fuegalopitu, or a unique cheese that is produced in Murcia using unique ingredient Murcia al vino wine. As Maria Jesus kindly explained to us, to make this delicious cheese, you can only use Murcian Granadian goat's milk and red wine, also from the Murcia region. Once its production is finished, the cheese matures for 45 days until it reaches its incredible creamy texture, its acid flavor, and its intense aroma of wine.
So if you like cheese and wine,
Murcia Albino is your cheese.
It's a shame you can't be here with us to appreciate this incredible aroma. The good news is that you can find it in the US. And when you try it, you'll understand why it has so many fans on both sides of the Atlantic, including us. Fans forever and ever. Ready to play? Discover the European cheese stories at cheesestories.eu. Funded by the European Union,